Oh god, I am such a fucking imbecile, idiot, dingus. Okay, let's talk number one. We're a little late. First video of 2019, and your boy is here to finally, like always, show us what? Your boy is here to actually give you the final album, my number one album of 2018, 4 days stylishly into the new year. 4 days. Sorry, I woke up at 2 o'clock today because I am productive and I'm an adult. You can hear about all my shit on the vlog, whatever I put out, big updates coming soon, check it out, Doesn't matter. Number one album, let's make it nice and sentimental, because if we think about 2018 in general, a lot happened. And I picked an album that I definitely enjoyed, probably the most. Like, it was really hard to choose between the top 5, I would say. That was a really tough decision for me. But I could easily say that this album that I've chosen is my favorite of the year. It definitely got me through the most amount of time, and I still go back to it very often. What album am I talking about? The late 2018 final album from Mac Miller, Swimming. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'm just doing this because it's a attention grab, because people want to see Mac's name on the news. No. And in fact, I stand for everything that is the opposite of people that use the dead for attention, Using the dead to, benefit yourself is just selfish and kind of fucked up if you think about it. I like this idea of respecting the dead. So, I was going to make a longer video, essay-styled video towards Mac Miller, and I probably still will in the new year. I'm very sorry. I really haven't been that focused while I was here, while I'm in London. Another issue. But I really do want to handle this album with care. This thing is special, and I do want to get this right out of the way, is that I'm not choosing this album because Mac's dead. This album has so much depth to it that if you dismiss it for that, I would be extremely, disappointed and also a little bit upset that you would just dismiss it based on him being dead. This is an album that has a lot more depth than most of the other artists put out this year. How could you argue that against me when I clearly say that I didn't like X's albums even though he's dead now? Doesn't mean I think that the Question Mark album is the best thing on earth because he's dead. No, what Mac does on this album surpasses what I think everyone else did this year. Now, let's get right into it. I just want to talk about the reason this album is so close to my heart, and it's the fact that Mac predicted his death pretty much before. This album is saturated in these beautiful analogies that try and describe how Mac feels on the inside, thanks to his drug use and his heartbreaking nature. The fact that he's been through a lot in these last couple years, and that he's really been struggling and using drugs to help him out, is something that I wish we brought more attention to in a society like this, instead of just saying Lil Xan smokes fentanyl and shit like that and praising it. It's nice to see that Mac finally, left his frat rap kind of idea, his bouncy, funky rap style, and went to a more sentimental and beautiful Mac Miller. His previous album, The Divine Feminine, was this really strange kind of oddball album that really I wasn't expecting, because I was so used to Mac just kind of going on bouncing, poppin' beats and just rapping about drugs and money and buying cool shoes and shit. But we finally saw Mac go towards a more focused theme and a direction that he actually cared about. This idea of women and the divine feminine, the woman. We could talk about that in some other video, but what Swimming does is that it takes this idea of your mind and how you think and how you are on drugs. I like to say painting pictures, but this thing is an amazing scenic view. What Mac can do on some of these tracks is just beautiful. This is one of the only times I'll actually go out and say that it invokes strong emotions. This thing is really, really deep, and you have to listen to what Mac's saying, because every single line he says, whether he's making a joke in some lines, because Mac still has his flair and personality in this thing, but in a lot of these songs, he's acknowledging how devastating this lifestyle is on him. The song Come Back to Earth is so pretty. It's so isolated. It's just like you and Mac Miller in a room listening to him talk about all of his issues. It's almost like therapy, like the therapy he never got and the reason he never really changed out of his drug abusing lifestyle. Before this album came out, Mac was caught in I think 1 or 2 DUIs, which upset me, but it makes sense because he was heavily using these drugs. It's still something stupid to do, but he's acknowledging how risky he's living, and before he died too. The most beautiful thing about this album is the fact that he almost predicts his death before, or it's like he knows he's going to die. We have lines where he's talking about
don't wanna grow old, so I smoke just in case.
Kind of crude, you know, dark, demented humor that kind of comes off as just Mac being like silly and stuff. But in the end, he was being sincere in these songs. These songs have a little bit of sincerity to them, and it really adds a really potent punch to every single track. When you hear Mac make a joke about dying young, or, you know, driving with his eyes closed, missing all the signs. Things that sound like, okay, like that's a joke. When in reality, he's turning his life into a joke. It's a little bit sad. It kind of makes me upset to see this Mac kind of made a joke of his life, especially near the end of it too. Hurt Feelings and What's the Use are songs that I also really do appreciate. I really appreciate every song on this thing, but I only really want to talk about two, even though I love every single song. And don't get me wrong, there are songs that I'm not going to talk about that I think are absolutely beautiful. Dunno, Perfecto, songs that I think are probably the top of Mac's discography. And the fact that they can build and work off of each other. The theme of this album is that he's got this beautiful analogy that we're swimming. Everyone's swimming through life. Sometimes the tide comes in and there's a little bit of waves and it's kind of hard to breathe. This anxiety where you feel like you're sinking or you're having a hard time, you know, getting breath. But then we have these shorelines that come up where you can just relax and you don't have to tread anymore. And I'm obviously butchering it like a fucking nuthead, but still, you have to listen to this album to really understand what Mac is talking about. I wouldn't say listen to a few songs in this. I would say listen to the whole thing. You can even shuffle it. But I do like the way this album is set up in its front to back order, because front to back really does have this idea of an unstable mental sanity, I guess. Not saying that Mac was insane or anything, but when you take drugs, you're definitely going to be a little bit more volatile. So this album has a lot of really slow, moody, sad, and like very self-reflective songs, and then a lot of funky, exciting jazz, just smooth, fun songs that kind of simulate the high that you get. You're upset, you'll smoke, you'll do whatever kind of drug you want, and you'll be happy for this little bit of time. And that's what I really like about this album. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too into it, but it definitely feels like Mac set this album up in this way. It only makes sense since it's called Swimming. He's kind of replicating this rippled feeling of like going through highs and lows, the things that are associated with drugs, and, you know, going to fame, and especially for someone who is so young. 26 and he got this much fame, especially when he was really young, when he blew up. This shit definitely carries on someone, and this album to me really does strike a soft note with me. I do think though it deserves to be in people's top 10s. Maybe not as high as mine is, but I really do think that there's enough content in this album to just keep listening to it on and on and on again. I think the enjoyability on this album is beautiful. The other song I do want to talk about is called Self-Care, and this thing is a two-part song. This song is stunning, to say the least. This song has a very, very powerful demeanor to it. It's very strong. Mac almost on his knees, like begging for something, as if like there's something missing in his life. And if you want to look into it, you could say this is him before he takes drugs. This song is Mac kind of breaking, his mentality snapping. He's having a really hard time focusing. He doesn't know what's going on. It's withdrawal maybe. But then we get to the second half of this song. This very jarring and jostled, confused, anxious beat gets completely contrasted with this beautiful, beautiful, heavenly, divine beat. This thing as if we're flying through the air, the clouds are pink and purple, you know what I mean, something like you're hallucinating, as if you're on a trip. And all of a sudden this song has just Mac like screaming his vocals, and you can just hear how much he cares about his vocals in this song. There's no fakeness to this song. I think it's completely genuine, and that's what I think everyone loved about Mac. The fact of the matter in this song especially is that it really does tell a story. You can infer however you want, but this thing just paints pictures, regardless of who you are, where you come from, or what you know about the character or the artist or whatever. It definitely pulls a little bit on you, and that's what I love. This album, in a sense, just has so much going on with it. It's beautiful. I'm so sad that Mac is gone. I was never even a big fan of Mac. After hearing this album, I really did feel bad that this is like an album that I would have dismissed completely if not for his death. This album I listened to for at least a month, straight after his death. It was only this album, and I'm so thankful for it. It really does have a lot to it. It has a beautiful cast of artists who worked on this thing, and I'm so glad that they all came together to help put the project together. I'm glad this is the project that Mac wanted to put out. It is beautiful in every sense of the word. I don't even see a fault in this project. I think it is pure. Alright, let's get some energy back. I'm sorry. We're at the end of the video. I don't like to talk about dead people and make jokes at the same video, but we'll just kind of transition into this. Hello, welcome back. If you forgot what my top 10 albums of 2018 are, and I highly recommend you listen to them because they are sweet, savory, fun, explosive, and amazing. They're like a piñata of just random genres. I'm sure you'll find one album you will enjoy. I tried to pick from a lot of albums that I definitely enjoyed the most, from a little bit of everywhere and a little bit of everything. Obviously I stick to hip hop and R&B a little bit more, but still I have a lot of projects that you should listen to, and I hope you do, and I hope you enjoy them. Nonetheless, number 10 was Daytona by Pusha T. Number 9, we had Beer Bongs and Bentleys, Post Malone. 8, Soy Pablo, Boy Pablo. Number 7 was Care For Me, Saba. Number 6, Yay, Kanye West. Number 5 was November by Sir. Number 4, we had Taboo by Denzel Curry. Number 3, we had the explosive, inducing, beautiful use of just old English mixed in with a new funky style, Tom Mish's Geography. Number 2, we had an even more phonetic, explosive, beautiful personality, a little bit zany at sometimes. We had Smino's Noir Project, perfectly matured. And finally, number 1, we had the caring, sentimental, self-reflective, beautiful, drug-inducing Swimming by Mac Miller, his final album. And what a beautiful project to end this year off with. Whether or not people say that every year gets worse for music, shut the fuck up. Fuck you. We're getting great music every year. These are songs that are gonna last, and I'm telling you that as a fact. What a beautiful year we had. Anywho, if you're excited for the next year, drop a fucking like, do a subscribe-y-do, poo, whatever. Vlogs are coming back. I don't know, I'm excited. Get ready, I have some inspiration.
Until there is no longer. Let's get lost inside the clouds.